It is so difficult today to make a true news-based documentary. Ever since Hollywood and the Hollywood elite made a social phenomena out of Michael Moore, who, by the way, doesn't make documentaries, but rather makes poor propaganda films, that you have to stick some kind of propaganda into every documentary. It's a bad practice. For the most part, California Typewriter avoids that for the most part. Cinematic class is about to begin, and the professor is in. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Fiore, host and producer of Outtakes with Fiore, Pittsburgh's longest running and award winning film review program. Just finished watching California Typewriter, and the name of the documentary centers around a store located in, of all places, Berkeley, where these family runs this little typewriter repair store, and everything branches out from this little store about the typewriter. Now, the movie starts out with a lot of people who want to see, a renewal of the typewriter and its art form, if you will. And then probably by the end of the movie, everyone's come to realization that no, not with computers and what have you, it's just simply not going to happen. But they still appreciate the typewriter for what it's worth. Director Doug Nickel has put this all together, and he brings out some interesting people to talk to, including Tom Hanks, who is a typewriter aficionado and shows his little collection of typewriters. Sam Shepard's in this, David McCullough, and blues master John Mayer is also in this as well, talking about how they use the typewriter for things. The original part of this documentary really comes out well. It centers on the store and how the guy has kept it open since 1980 and how they're changing their, just to try to keep the typewriter store open, and how he can find people who still use and appreciate the typewriter. But then it branches off into these other areas where people are using the typewriter simply because they've gotten fed up with the digital age and what have you. And some of the points they make in this documentary are actually pretty valid. For example, because of the physicality of the typewriter, having to take the paper, having to load it, roll it in, sit there and type away, and then take it out, make your corrections and sign your name to it, there probably would be less knee-jerk reactions to things, which would result in a lot of people not having to make apologies like they do now in the digital age. You wouldn't have a whole lot of thoughtlessness. And if you watch social media at all, there's an awful lot of that out there. When you take the time to work a typewriter, then your words are giving a lot more gravitas and have a lot more meaning to them. And generally, they're well thought out and not the mishmash of the English language that you usually find on social media. So in that case, it's good. Hey, I got to tell you, there was a lot near and dear to my heart in this movie because, folks, I know it's hard to tell by looking at this very youthful face, but I started my journalistic career back in 1973, and there were no calculators or laptops back then, so I spent an awful lot of my journalistic career on a typewriter, and I kind of appreciate that. I still have some. Down in my video room, I have a manual and an electric typewriter, because you never know. So where does California Typewriter go wrong? Well, the movie clocks in at about 104 minutes. That's pretty long for a documentary. All of this neat thing that they say about the folks that run the store in Berkeley and the interviews with the people who are creating and still use today the typewriter are offset when they go on to this tangent. And again, here comes the propaganda, where they take certain people and they, for some reason, let them rant about their thoughts on life and their thoughts on culture and their thoughts on people and the political. It's not necessary. It doesn't fit into the movie. You could see it blatantly. It just clashes with everything. They even go so far as to put a segment in there about a band who makes music pounding on old typewriters and the sounds that they make. And apparently these guys are members of Antifa. They have, kill fascists on their typewriter. It's totally unnecessary, and it's certainly the documentary could have stood well on its own without having put this in. So there's a little bit of a slippage there. But that didn't stop me from getting some behind-the-scenes footage and certainly more comments that you will be able to see on Outtakes with Fiore. Remember, if you're in the Pittsburgh market, you can see it Mondays at 7, Thursdays at 9 and Saturdays at 2 p.m. Channel 32 on the BIOS network and Channel 7 for those of you on Comcast in the South Hills. California Typewriter. It's worth a view, especially if you're one of those people that had to sit up and write term papers on a typewriter. Or worse yet, TV scripts. Trying to fill in those templates. Oh, man, don't even get me started. Now that you have learned what you have learned, here endeth your lesson.